Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about the latest developments in Ukraine, including reports about a massive Russian army of 500,000 troops and almost 2,000 tanks having amassed on the Ukrainian border. And allegedly they're going to launch this massive offensive on the 1-year anniversary of the war. So we're going to talk about that. But first, we're going to be quickly go over some of the latest developments in Ukraine. So, zooming into Bakhmut, Krasnohora, a settlement just north of Bakhmut, was stormed by the Wagner PMC, private military company. Their assault units took Krasnohora just like 2 days ago. Here's a picture of them outside I call it a city, it's settlement. And now they have their eyes set on the settlement of Paraskovivka. I think that's how you say it, Paraskovivka. So this settlement, just like Krasnohora, it's pretty much encircled right now. It seems like it's just a matter of time. There's already, it's pretty much a cauldron, so, and according to the symbol, there's already fighting inside the settlement, so this, just like Krasnohora, is just a matter of time. And aside from that, there's fighting all along the front. Obviously, another important development recently was that the Russian attack on Vuhledar failed. The Russians tried to basically they tried to outflank Vuhledar. They first launched a frontal assault and it failed. Then they tried to flank Vuhledar to the west, but now they've fallen back. All of those attempts failed, and now the Ukrainians launched a counterattack, but that counterattack has also been it's basically a stalemate right now, right? And I don't know if you guys saw it, but there was a picture released of something like over 20 Russian tanks and armored vehicles destroyed outside Vuhledar when the Russians tried to launch the attack. But that picture is kind of deceptive because it kind of implies that that all the people probably died. I mean, it looks bad, right? But realistically, the reason that those vehicles were all clumped up together is because a few vehicles got destroyed, and basically after that, the tanks used them as cover to shoot at targets ahead of them. And then some of the tanks also got hit by ATGMs and mines, it seems. Now, subsequently, a video came out. The Russians released a video, and that video showed most of the a lot of the Russian troops who were in those tanks and vehicles actually escaping, and a bunch of other vehicles just fleeing the scene. So, when you see a destroyed vehicle, it doesn't always mean that everyone inside died. Sometimes it does, but sometimes the people escape, right? The personnel are able to live. And another video came out after that, and I think the next video actually... what was I going to say? It showed how... it showed how the vehicles actually hit a bunch of mines. So that's actually... that kind of explains what happened. Some of the tanks, they actually went over mines. Anyways, aside from Vuhledar, or Ugledar, I think it's called. The Snake Island. The Russians have again attacked Snake Island, which is just to the southwest of Ukraine. this area on the coast actually used to be part of Moldova. And I think Moldova used to be a part of Romania. But anyways, after World War II, it was given to Ukraine. And Snake Island, if we zoom into it, it's actually really tiny. And okay. So if we measure it out, I mean, it's not even, it's like 400 miles or 600 meters wide, right? So it's like not even a mile squared or a kilometer squared, not even close. Just thought I would point that out. But the Russians have bombarded it, and because apparently the Ukrainians, they stationed some troops there or some equipment. I don't know why either side stations anything there. I mean, there's no point, because it's just an easy target, right? Anyone can just hit it with missiles, airstrikes, artillery. The Ukrainians, they control the coast, so they can hit it with artillery. So it's just not really worth it. You can't place any decent amount of weapons on it or air defense systems, so it's kind of a liability. And aside from that, there's a bridge actually right here that connects the southern coast to the rest of Ukraine and then Odessa. And the Russians attacked this bridge with I forget what it's called. I think it's called a unmanned surface vessel or something, but it's basically a speedboat that's a drone that's unmanned. And the Russians didn't hit the roadworks or the roadway. They actually, the boat went obviously underneath the bridge, and they targeted the columns of the bridge. So that's kind of interesting. Anyways, aside from all that, let's talk about the recent reports about Russia amassing 500,000 troops on the border. There's a few articles talking about this. The New York Post. There's this one on the Hill. Financial Times talks about it. But anyways, I don't think there's any doubt about it. The Russians initially claimed that they had something like 300,000 troops that they had mobilized from 2 million reserves. But from the beginning, some people were doubting that. They were thinking that the Russians were mobilizing a much larger number. And that's what I suspected, and that it seems that that's what they ended up doing. So if they initially mobilized 300,000, which is what they claimed, and now they're saying there's 500,000 on the border, we know that the Russians have sent in something like 100 to 150,000 troops just to beef up their lines, just to reinforce their positions. So that would mean the Russians, they probably mobilized closer to like something like 600,000, or who knows, maybe it's 800,000. We don't know, but could easily be 700,000, right? Because there's 500,000 troops just outside Ukraine's borders. And when it comes to attacking Ukraine, I mean, the Russians have they have multiple options. They can basically here, I'll just draw it out. They can focus on Kiev again. They can focus on the Sumy region, or they could focus on Kharkiv. And I mean, you might think that they might not send troops in from any of those areas, but realistically, it would make sense to outflank the Ukrainians. To me, what seems the most feasible would be if they did something like this. If it were up to me, the most conservative thing they could do without taking a huge risk would be to send in, maybe, you know what I would do? Here, give me a second. So I would launch a diversionary attack somewhere further northwest. So either towards Sumy or Kiev, because you see this these blue clouds. They represent the areas that the Russians were able to take control of the last time. So they got pretty far into pretty close to Kiev, if you think about it. Basically, 11 miles from the city center. So the thing is, you got to understand, they had something like 40,000 troops. They just thought the government would fold, right? They didn't nearly have enough troops to actually carry the operation through. So 40,000 troops were able to do this. And if they were to send like 3 times as many, I would say Kiev would probably get encircled, right? In the Kharkiv region, they had something like, I think, again, 30 or 40,000 troops at most. And they didn't really come close to encircling Kharkiv, but if they had 3 times as many, they probably would have encircled the whole city or most of the city. They just didn't have the numbers or resources at that time. But anyways, if it were up to me, I would launch a diversionary attack maybe towards Kiev, right? And another one towards Sumy, maybe even encircle Sumy. And that would force the Ukrainians to react and send reinforcements in this direction. Because, I mean, they have to respond, right? Because most of the Ukrainian troops are actually along the front lines with Russia. So most of them are just stationed along this front. I hear that it's mostly territorial defense in Western Ukraine, and it's mostly troops that are training. They have some troops that are training, learning to operate the tanks that they're being given. Like, I think there's some troops, Ukrainian troops in Poland right now, training on how to operate the Leopard 2. But anyways, the Ukrainians, their game plan right now is basically to hold on to as much territory as they can. They're not counting their numbers. They're basically they just, again, I think yesterday sent more reinforcements to Bakhmut. The West has asked them to withdraw from Bakhmut and stop going on offensives and stop fighting along the front lines that they're currently fighting, to basically fall back, because just west of Bakhmut there's actually higher ground that they could fall back to. And Zaluzhny, the top general in Ukraine, that's what he wants to do, but Zelensky just keeps insisting, so they just keep sending more and more cannon fodder to Bakhmut. And I saw this was in the Western news, actually. I saw a clip where they admitted that the average soldier lasts 4 hours in Bakhmut. So the average Ukrainian soldier sent to Bakhmut, it's basically a death sentence, right? Especially if you're territorial defense. I mean, you're basically being used as cannon fodder, right? Which is sad. Now, this article right here, there's a few fallacies in the article if you read it. Basically, they say that Russia has 300 or 500,000 troops on the border. And that's quite the discrepancy. But U.S. U.S. intelligence are saying it's 500,000. Another thing is they say that Russia has sustained 200,000 killed in action, which is actually impossible because Russia initially sent like 150 to 200,000 troops into Ukraine. I heard it was 170,000. So if Russia has sustained 200,000 killed in action, that would actually mean that they've sustained 800,000 casualties. So that would mean the entire Russian fighting force would be dead or injured or captured or missing. So that's just impossible. Anyways, this article says they have 1,800 tanks, 4,000 armored fighting vehicles, 2,700 artillery systems, 800 Soviet-era multiple rocket launch systems, and another article mentions 400 fighter jets. So they want to launch a massive invasion. Anyways, to be conservative, this is what I would do. Attack Kharkiv on a few axes. Basically, I would want to encircle Kharkiv as quickly as possible. Okay? And then after that, once Kharkiv is encircled, leave a bunch of troops to just like keep Kharkiv encircled and deal with that. Then I would send some troops towards Izium. And basically what I would want to do is I would want to cut off the entire Kharkiv region. So I think the Ukrainians have something like 20,000 troops in this area. So if the Russians were able to move fast enough, they could actually encircle all of those troops, right? Then aside from that, so what I would also do is here, let me draw this out. So there's Kharkiv, there's Liman, Izium, Bakhmut, right? So basically pincer Kharkiv, surround it, leave a detachment of troops there to deal with that. Cut off the Kharkiv Oblast, and then send the bulk of the troops south. And then ideally they would want to meet up with troops from the Zaporizhia region. And the failed assault on Volodar doesn't bode well for them being able to do this, but I mean, 500,000 troops. Oh yeah, this article, another thing it says is that they're not well trained. The Russian troops are not well trained, but remember, all of the mobilized personnel have former military experience, and they've been training for about 6 months now, which is the length of time a soldier would need. In World War II, soldiers were trained for 6 months before being deployed. That's a good amount of time. Decent amount of time. But anyways, the Russians, if they could do this and cut off all the Ukrainian troops in the east of the country, that would basically be a death blow for Ukraine. If they took Kharkiv and surrounded even like a quarter or a third of these troops while the rest fled, that would be a death blow for Ukraine. I mean, yes, afterwards Ukraine would probably still want to launch their spring offensive, but I don't know. It would be very problematic for the Ukrainians. I'm going to make another video on Ukraine's spring offensive, their aspirations. But anyways, guys, that's it for today. Let me know what you think of the video. Comment, share, like, and subscribe. and I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you.